Terms in Action and Perspectives is a project for people who are emerging professionals in the field. I myself have had challenges trying to navigate the career. So I feel like there are other people who have also or who still go through such challenges. And the whole idea is to bring together professionals who have experiences in these fields. Not just one field, yours is different, someone else's could be different, but the whole idea is to put together a living archive of resources. For me, the big picture is very simple. To, create a resource-based, knowledge platform that helps communications professionals to thrive in their career. You understand what I mean? So, just go straight to my questions. But before then, I'd like you to take it away. Tell us what you do, what a day in your life looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I am Seth Onyango. I would say I'm a journalist at heart. I've worked as a scribe for donkey years, really, for various African and international media outlets. But somewhere along the way, I became deeply fascinated by how organizations and companies talk. Especially when the stakes are high and the message is complex. But really, the very essence of what I do is to bring storytelling to corporate messaging.
People always think that communications is all about just writing or speaking. But I think there is more to it.
Yeah, I know that misconception is out there, but I think it's important for people to understand that corporate communications, especially, is not just about PR spin, writing press releases, or coaching executives on what to say to the media. Yeah, there's some of that, but really, it often involves a lot of listening. There's a lot of listening that is involved when it comes to communication, because when you understand what your client wants to communicate, you're able to craft that message better. So before you can craft a message that truly lands, you have to understand what's beneath the surface, or whether it's tension, whether there's tension within a team, fear during a crisis, or confusion around certain strategy. Basically, when you understand your sickness, you're kind of like halfway cured. So in other words, listening is strategic. It's a very strategic tool that most people overlook, because for you to understand to really have a robust communication strategy, you need to understand, you need to first of all listen and understand what the problem is, what the audience is, before you can tailor that message to that audience.
People want to learn from you. Has there been any moment of transitions? Have you moved, how did you move from here to there within the industry? Because communications is vast.
Most people always think that I'm doing stories and writing catchy slogans or doing interviews. Sure, those moments happen, but much of the day for me is really quiet, very quiet. It's about research, reading as many books as I can, because I believe the more you know, the more opportunities you have. So for me, it's really I spend a lot of time really understanding the cultural map. Because usually in communication, what you have is that, it entails a lot. It entails creating an environment where, your message can be heard without all the noise that are happening in the world. And here you're dealing with a cocktail of audiences, and it's important to understand the cultural map, which buttons to press and which ones to leave alone. But throughout my career, really has been about writing. I've always been curious about pretty much the world around me, what is happening, and when I trained as a communication specialist and became a journalist soon after, the question has always been about what. But as a transition into corporate communication, it has been about, how to make my message strike a chord with different audiences, because people have different taste buds out there, and you want to be able to cover as much ground in terms of the people that are able to connect with that message as possible. Because the communications strategy that you deploy, say, for Samsung or for an African company is different, because and the one that you deploy to, say, a company in Europe is different, yeah. But there's only one thing that people share, that people have in common, and is they want that message to resonate with them, especially in the world where people have very low attention span. There's a lot of information, and people are competing for eyeballs. So you want to be able to set yourself apart. So if your communication has a lot of noise, then your message is not going to be heard. So it's important for people to understand their audience, really, and listen more,
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your questions, because it's like all over the
Yeah.
place.
No, seriously, it's giving me serious points that I'm running with. You talked about studying the cultural map, and I've also been thinking about cultural intelligence, everything cultural, like, because when you say cultural, people think it's like a conversation in the village. We're just trying to, okay, cultural, like, you know what I mean? But trying to like understand your audience, trying to know why what. I put out a graphics today on my Instagram, and coincidentally you're talking about the same thing, talking about like oppressors in brand communications, and then there's this thing about communications monocultures. Example, you design a communication strategy, say for London people, and then you're deploying it in Nairobi. How does that work? Do you understand? You have to like create something that works for a particular. But yeah, you want to say something?
Absolutely, absolutely. So you first of all have to understand that there are low context and high context cultures. So most of African countries are high context cultures, but when the further north you go towards Europe and America, they really have low context communication, because and that's what they understand, and that's what they've lived with for centuries, because you have all these people coming from all over the world. You want to communicate in a way that these people have designed their communication. The way they communicate is very direct, they
Yeah,
don't equivocate in any way. But in Africa, is like they say something and they expect you to read between the lines, you know. So I think that's what people need to understand when it comes to communications. That Europeans wants to be told something very directly.
yeah,
Hey, I like this and I like that. But in Africa, when you say you don't like something, you want to start with a speech about how much you like certain aspects of that particular
mm-hmm.
language. And that doesn't work in communication strategy as a communication strategy in Europe. So it's very important for people to understand the cultural backgrounds of people they're dealing with.
Yeah. So you said something again, which I'm running with. You said high contest cultures and low contest cultures. Point taken. Great. Let's talk about misconceptions. Um, we already talked about one. We already said many people think it's all about writing, it's all about speaking, it's all about eloquence, blah, blah, blah. Are there other misconceptions, things that people think communication is or isn't, or things that you feel communication is also that people do not know about?
First of all, people think communications comes last, is like the last thing that you do, is like sort of like a decoration. So that's something that you slap on at the end of a project to make it look good. But in truth, communication it's part of the strategy, and should be. It can make or break a business decision. Of course, it influences how teams perform, how customers respond, how stakeholders interpret risk, and how public really perceive your brand and you as an individual. But the problem is that people think communication and the way it has been marketed is about fixing things. No, communication is about creating relationship. Yeah, whether it's a relationship with a product, a relationship with a company, and or whether it comes to crisis communications, to try and make people, to give people context. Yeah, within which that crisis may have happened. So that is something that is very important.
Hmm.
Yeah, what people don't see really are the hours that people spend aligning messaging, navigating internal politics, or crafting responses under pressure. That's because sometimes it looks so easy, but people don't know the
Yeah,
behind
the
this.
work, the strategy.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.